Guys, if you're like me, you most likely brought home a poinsettia for your home for Christmas. But there are some things you need to avoid to make sure that they last and that they'll be their best for you. If you've never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome to my home and garden channel. Welcome everyone. Now let's take a look at how to avoid these mistakes. So before we take a look at the 7 mistakes to avoid, let's first of all just get an overview of this wonderful plant called poinsettia. And they are actually such a wonderful signal of the holiday season for Christmas, as you celebrate. And they actually are belonging to the family called Euphorbia. They're tropicals. You'll see them in countries like Jamaica, Mexico, and other places like that where they can grow as far as 10 or even some cases 15 feet tall. The color that you're seeing there is actually, those are not petals on the plant. Those are leaves that are called bracts. The flowers are in the center and they typically look, yellow, red, and some green on them as well. Of course, they come in many different colors. You have reds, you have pinks, you have peaches, you have whites. There are just so many different types. Whatever, suits your fancy, there'll be one out there that's going to suit your needs. And of course, the prices vary by size. Larger they are, the more you have to pay. Some of them, like this little miniature one here, it's called Love You Pink. And this one actually has smaller leaves and they're shaped a little bit differently, but they're all still a part of that wonderful family of poinsettias. And I think that these are so gorgeous. The next thing again too is that most of them, the leaves are smooth, but in some cases you can have leaves that have a little texture to them, like these right here. So if that's something that you're going for, then this will definitely be something you'll want to take home with you. And of course, they look absolutely fabulous when they are paired with other plants. These are some polka dot plants next to them and some spider plants. So let's take a look now. The first mistake to avoid, and that one would be exposure to freezing cold. Of course, typically when you're getting them, it's cold if you're not in a tropical area. So when you're going to get them, you have to try to keep them, not exposed to freezing cold. Like when you're leaving the store, especially if you're going to have them sitting in a cold car, that's not the best idea for them. The sleeve does offer some protection, but it's best to pull it as far up as you can go and then put them in another bag that can offer them some insulation until you get home. Best option is, do that last and you just head on home with them so that way they're not parked up, they're sitting in the cold, and just, getting stressed out, because we don't want to take a plant home that's already stressed. We want it to be as close, to, maximum health as possible. The next thing about this plant is where to place them. Now, if you want to place them outside, it depends on the temperature in your area. I just think there is nothing like the real thing. I absolutely love these, but it's a little bit too cold out here on my porch, so I have to enjoy them inside. What I do instead is I use, like the faux ones, the artificial ones, and those are good stand-in for outdoor spaces. And this recent video that I did, I'll link it at the end, that shows you how I did that so I can enjoy poinsettias both outside and inside. The next thing, talking about, cold exposure, would be putting them right next to your door. These look really nice right here. But the problem with that is that as soon as someone opens the door, that blast of cold air comes in. And again, the plant is going to get stressed and, it's not going to do well. So definitely bear that in mind. Number 2 would be exposure to excess heat, which is the other side of the coin. They look really beautiful by your fireplace, dressing it up really nice. But if your fireplace is functional, you have a lot of heat coming off from there, as we do here, then that would definitely not be the best place to put it. And we certainly don't want to have our poinsettias looking all raggedy. So it's best to find an area where the temperature is, fairly moderate inside your home. Number 3 would be for them to not be getting enough light. Like these ones look wonderful right here by my Christmas tree. If you're watching my videos, you'd have seen when I put this Christmas tree together. But even though it looks pretty right there, that's really not the best place for it, because they need to get about 6 hours of indirect sunlight per day. So you want to put them maybe near to a window or door where they can get a reasonable amount of light coming in. Now, they don't like to have like direct sunlight just burning in on them. And especially if the leaves touch the window, that's going to make it even worse. So just try to get it in an area where they have indirect sunlight for about 6 hours or so per day. If lighting is an issue in your home, you can always use like grow lights like these right here. And I'll put some in the description box if there's something you think will work for you to keep your poinsettias and other houseplants healthy. Number 4 would be overwatering. I think this is one of the things that kills most poinsettias, overwatering. And the main reason is the sleeves that they come in. Yes, they're very festive, they look really pretty, but they hold the water in there when you water them. And if you're not checking it, then it's going to go ahead and your plant will have root rot, and then it's going to die very quickly. You'll see them drooping and they just won't turn out too well. So the best thing to do is when you water them, just to drain it off after the water has settled out, and then place them back in, so that way you know that they're okay. And just check the top of the soil to make sure it's not soggy all the time. It needs to dry out just a little bit. Another option is just to put some holes in those leaves and get some saucers like these, and they're quite inexpensive at our garden centers from what I have seen. So you can get some of these, just put holes in the wrapper and set them in there, and you can keep a better eye on it, and it's easier for you to manage it that way. So that's another option for you there as well. Number 5 would be underwatering. You don't want to have them overwatered, but you don't want to have them not watered at all. So if the pot feels really light and it's dry, then that means that you need to water them. And they're going to love it. And just check them, because the humidity in your house may be different than, another place. So you may need to do it less or more, but just touch the top of the soil. If it feels a little bit dry, it's time to water them. Of course, if you have other plants along with them, then it's going to change the whole dynamic. So you still have to check it there, because other plants may cause it to want more water than it typically would. For the most part, though, they do try to, match them with plants that have similar watering needs and similar light needs in your garden center. These are paired here with some beautiful chrysanthemums, and I think they are so gorgeous and just so very seasonal. I think they're just so beautiful. You can see how much they were going for when I had seen them at that point. Just absolutely wonderful. Now moving on then to number 6. So number 6 is feeding them at the wrong time. And I have a bonus coming up for you as well, guys. Now, feeding them at the wrong time means you're feeding them when they're blooming. They really don't need to have any extra food at that point. Everything they need is already in them, so you don't want to stress them by overfeeding them. That's better to be done in the spring if you plan to keep them that long. And if you are enjoying this video so far, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell twice so you never miss an upload. If you love flowers, you love gardening, then this is the channel for you. And I also do decorate my home for Christmas. Moving on to number 7, and that would be stressing over the change in them after Christmas, after the holidays. So typically what happens, you'll see that the flowers, that they start falling off. The leaves may get lighter in color, or they may get darker depending on what kind you have. So it just depends. They're not going to be nice and fresh like when you got them initially with the blooms in there and the leaves, the bright colors and all of that. It's going to be just a natural change. You'll see that sometimes the leaves will drop and you'll get green leaves coming up, and that is perfectly fine. That is a part of the natural process. So I would say don't worry too much about it, because just like any other flowers that you have, whether they're roses, begonias or whatever, all of the flowers are going to fade and fall off. That's just a natural part of the process. So just let them go ahead and, do what they do, go through their cycle. And then you can always, either pick up the falling with a newer one, or you can try to, have the same one come back. And guys, let me know what is the favorite color for your favorite poinsettia. Is it the red one? Is it the white one? Is it pink? Is it peach? Do you like them variegated? Have you ever bought one? Because sometimes I'll see them have like glitter on them, which I prefer to keep them in a more natural look. But some people like the glitter ones. I've even seen where they put colored ones, because they put dyes in the white ones to have them get, different colors. So it just depends on what your preference is. And now let's take a look at the bonus point. The bonus point is trying to get them to get the color back the following year. To pull this off, you actually have to have them have 14 hours of darkness every single day once you get to 8 weeks out from the date you want them to start blooming. They'll still need to be watered. They'll need to be in the dark, and even a night light, they say, can actually throw them off. So in that case, you have to bear that in mind, that it has to be fully dark. Otherwise, it's going to trigger something, the hormones, that's going to cause the whole thing to not go through for you. So if you are able to do, I know people who have done it, so it is doable. If you're not in a tropical area, then that's the kind of thing you have to go through. If you're in a tropical area, then they'll just do their thing and they'll come back and they'll grow tall and be there year after year after year for you, because they are perennials, their natural habitat. So let's go ahead and do a quick recap, guys. You want to make sure that you don't expose them to freezing cold, that they're not exposed to excess heat either, that they have adequate light, that you're not overwatering or underwatering. You can just use your fingers to test them to see how they feel. Not to try to feed them when they're blooming, because they really don't need it. They need to have the proper lighting to make sure that they can be their best, usually about 6 hours of sunlight per day. And just not to stress over them when they go through their natural cycle of the flowers fading. And if you need to, you could just get some more for the following year and it should be perfectly fine. So I hope that these points were helpful to you. I'm always so glad when you come back each time. I appreciate you all so much. I hope you're enjoying the holiday season. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Be sure to check out my Christmas playlist if you haven't already to see some of my recent videos. And be sure to subscribe if you have not already, so you can be sure to follow along. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all the very best. Take care.